Hey, what's up guys? VFX Bro here, and welcome to Intro to Motion Graphics in After Effects. Now, the things I'm going to be teaching you are available in most versions of After Effects. However, I am going to be using After Effects CS6, and we're going to be running over the process of what it's like to make a lyric video. I've been able to make several different lyric videos for Disney, Hollywood Records, and different bands over the last couple of years, and so I'm super excited to show you guys how I do them. And by doing this, we're going to be able to learn a lot of the basics in After Effects when it comes to motion graphics. So let's go ahead and get started out here. We're going to create a new composition. Some of the things I'm going to be teaching you, I may be expecting you to already understand through After Effects basic training. Things like what a project is, what a composition is. If you aren't familiar with those, there's a lot of tutorials online, or you can check out my After Effects basic training on vfxbro.com. So we're going to go ahead and create a new composition here, and we're going to make it 1280 by 720 pixels. We're going to make the frame rate 24 frames per second, and we're going to keep the duration at 2 minutes. And so we have this new composition here, and when I start off my most basic lyric videos, I use text. So I bring in the text first. Right here we have our text button. So for this particular lyric video, we're going to use a cover of the song We Are Young by Fun. And I'm going to drag that in. It's a music video layer that I have here, but I'm going to just turn it off because all we need is the audio. And we can scroll down here and take a look at the waveform. Now, often when doing motion graphics, you are lining up footage with audio, so it's important to understand where the audio is to help you sync things up. Quick key here is that we can actually play through the audio right away by hitting Control and the period button. We're going to go ahead and skip straight to the chorus, which says, "Tonight we are young." So I can kind of tell from looking at it here that that's where it was going to start. And so we know that the lyrics are "Tonight we are young." So we're going to start off by typing in "tonight," and we're going to click on the text here and double click. It's a little bit small, and we're going to want the text to be something. Let's try Century Gothic. It's one of my favorite fonts. And we're going to size that up. And again, we just hit the S button here for scale. You're going to want to learn all of the short keys when doing motion graphics, because this is really going to speed you along. If we were to look here in our text, we can go to our transform, and we have anchor point, our position, scale, rotation, and opacity. Our anchor point is this little guy right here, and we can actually adjust it by either clicking up here on the pan behind tool, or we can just hit Y, and that's going to allow us to move this around. And what our anchor point does, it anchors down our text here. So if we were to rotate it by clicking on this rotation tool right here or hitting R, it's going to rotate around that point. That's going to be our center. So the anchor point basically tells us where the center of our layer is. And if we were to move it up here and rotate around, we would see that now our anchor point has been moved to that position and it's rotating there. So usually I like to have the anchor point at the very bottom of my text layer. Now when I scale it down, it's going to do so appropriately. And we have the words "tonight" out, and I want to actually make it bold. I'm going to bring it closer together, right around there. So we have the text "tonight," and I often like to use the title "safe." Really quickly, let's go over the short keys. We have here S is for scale. It's going to bring it down. If we hit S again, it's going to hide it. R is for rotation. If we push it again, it's going to hide it. We've got P for position. We've got A for anchor point. And if we look at the other ones, R for rotation. Opacity is not O, actually it's T. So T is going to give us the short command for opacity. Okay, so Command D is going to duplicate that layer. And now we can move it down. We're going to change this to "we." So now it says "tonight we," and we're going to duplicate that again and type in R. And then one more time, and we can double click on it and type in young. So now we have the text that says tonight we are. Now what I like to do most of the time is stretch this out so that it all fits within kind of a box. So we've got that. I like to size up smaller words and put that there. Again, have it reaching the end of the box. Because our anchor point is over here, when we size it up, it's going to be sizing it up from that point. Not ideal, but it'll work for now. And then I'm going to make young small little guy here. And it's going to fit right in there. And I can actually take the anchor point and bring it here, so it's going to scale it up from that position and to the end of that box there. So now it says tonight we are young. And I'm going to show you how to do a very basic animation here and even create your own preset. So we want it to come on from the top to the bottom. So we have all these layers selected, and we're going to hold down shift to select them all, and we're going to hit alt right bracket so that it cuts them all off prior to that point. So we can see now they all turn on at that point. And we're not exactly sure how long they're going to last, but probably not more than 5-6 seconds. So we're going to hold down alt right bracket, and now we've cut them to that length. So we can see that it stops after they come out, and it starts right at this position right here, right at 49 seconds. We can see here that we have our time indicator right there. And so we've got it coming on, turning off. And if we were to move these around, we could kind of space them out so that it says young are we tonight. We can move it around like this. Tonight we are young. And if we want them to all to stay on, we can select all of them. If we drag them all out, it's going to extend the length of all of them. Rather than having to select each of them separately, we can just simply hit alt right bracket and it's going to cut them all to that length. We can see that we actually accidentally cut the length of our audio layer here. So we're going to hit Control Z, which is going to undo that, and we're going to hit Command to unselect this layer, and now alt right bracket. So now you can see that they all come on one at a time, but they all turn off at the same time. What we want to have happen actually as they come on is we want to add an animation preset so that they bounce up from underneath. And that's going to be a little bit difficult to understand at this point, but if we click here, we can see that we have this animate little button here, and that's going to be applied to our text. And our text has a lot of different options here, a lot of different things. We're not going to go over all of them, but we can see here that we have a path, and the path option basically allows us to animate things over the path that we create. So if we were to create a path with this pen tool, there's a path. Now we have our mask path there, and now we can see that it's being animated along that. We can reverse it so that it's on top, and we can move it along that path. So that's a little bit more advanced. We won't get into that too much. Just know that we do have that path option there when you see it. We're going to get rid of our mask that we added, and we have our anchor grouping. We're going to group by word because we want each word to pop up on its own as a full word. So we're going to do animate, and we're going to do scale. So what scale is going to allow us to do is scale is the size of it. So we have that, and now if we were to click here, we can take our scale and we're going to bring it down to 0. So we're just going to click here on 0, and now if we hit start, we can see that they're scaling up to their original position one letter at a time. So we have our start. This tells us how far from left to right are we currently, and scaling all of the characters up to their original size. And the end is saying how far along are we from the end, so from right to left. And the offset does exactly what you would think it does. It offsets where our end and start positions are. So we're going to leave our offset at 0, and we're going to have our start at 0. We're going to have our end there, and let's go into our advanced settings here. Now we want it to be on a percentage, that's fine. We want this to be based on words, however, so that the entire word will pop up. And we're not going to get into all of this here, but we can see that we have a lot of other settings: easing high, easing low, randomized order. We're not going to need any of those for now. So we have our start, and now we can see that it's just popping up from the bottom. So that's exactly what we want. We want it to just pop up right there. And what we could even do is unlink our scale, and this percentage right here represents the X scale, meaning from left to right or horizontal, and then this is our Y scale, meaning our vertical scale. Let's say that we want to leave our X scale the same the whole time. So we're going to unlink this, and we're going to bring our X to 100, and we're going to bring our Y scale to 0. And we don't need this keyframe here. And now we can see this just popping up from the very bottom, and the length of it is staying the same, which is cool because that's probably what we want for this anyways. So it's just popping up from the very bottom. So what we can do here is set a keyframe. A keyframe is what allows us to achieve animation within After Effects. So if we click on this little stopwatch right here, that's going to set a keyframe for that position, meaning that the value at this position, which is 1 second, we can actually change this to, sorry, this is 1 minute and 1 second and 7 frames. We can change this by hitting Command to see the frame number that this is in our composition. So now we have this is at the value at 1471 frame is 0%, and we can change that around, but we want to keep it at 0. Now we can move forward several frames and make that 100. And now if we zoom in, we can see that it's animating up to that position. And if we hit N here, that's going to close off our preview region, and if we hit B here, it's going to close it off from the beginning. So now we can watch in real time. That's really slow. We want it to be a lot faster. And another thing here that we want to know for animating in After Effects is to allow us to do ease our keyframes in. Now what this is doing here is it's going directly from 0% to 100% with no change in acceleration or deceleration. We can see here that every time we move a frame forward, it's moving about 11%. This is 11, and then we got 22, 33, 44, until it gets to 100%. Really simple. What we can do here, however, is right-click on this, and if we hit Easy Ease In, it's going to, as this graph shows us, it's going to start off at this pace, which is 50%, and then it's going to slow down as it gets closer to that number. And we can change this so that it gets even slower as it gets closer. So now it's going to go really fast and then slow down. If we were to click on this keyframe right here, again, this number represents the keyframe that we had made there previously. If we were to click on that, now we could add an easy ease to this one as well. We can easy ease it out, and now it's going to add this little tool right here. We can also achieve that same effect by clicking on this guy right here, easy ease out, easy ease in, or easy ease, which is going to add these little eases to both sides. And so we can allow it to be really slow at first and then go up, but we only need it for the last keyframe here. So I'm just going to remove that by clicking on it right here. If I hit Command while clicking it, it's going to return it to its original keyframe state. We can see that it's going fast and then it's slowing down as it gets to be big. So now if we go through this, we can see that it's just popping up there. That's a pretty good speed. I like that. So what I can do now, you can zoom out here. I like this animation here. So with that animator selected, I can click on Animate, Save Animation Preset, and I'm just going to call this Scale Up. Now that I've saved that animation preset, I can click on this guy, And I'm going to go to the beginning. This is the word R right here. And I'm going to click Recent Animation Preset, Apply Scale Up. And now that I've applied it there, it's also going to do it for that. And I can click on this Wii right here and also apply the Recent Animation Preset Scale Up. Go to the beginning of this layer, Tonight, apply Animation Preset Scale Up. Now these layers are way too far apart. They've got to happen a lot sooner, so I'm going to drag them out so that they're showing up closer together. And now we can see them popping up. We can see that the young comes a little bit late. And we can tell where it starts by hitting U. U is the short key that allows us to see all of the keyframes that have been applied to a specific layer. So in this layer we have this keyframe that has been applied here, and let's go ahead and Alt right bracket so that we can cut it there and we can see where it starts. And now one thing that I do on almost every Lyric video is add motion blur, almost every motion graphics project. And so motion blur, we'll see here, is we enable this right here, and then we click on all these. With all these selected, this is going to add motion blur. So now if we scroll through this, we can see here that the motion blur has been added. There's this blurring going on here because of the speed that the text is scaling up. And it's super subtle here. We're going to see it in a more obvious way later on. So here it says, Tonight We Are Young. We're going to add a null object. And this null object is going to be here. We're going to select all of these text layers and put them on our null object. We can actually take this null object, move everything around. We want our words to always be in the center, the words that are appearing. So here we have Tonight showing up there, which is great. But when We shows up, we want it to move up into that position as well. So we're going to hold down P for position and select that, and then by the time that We pops up, we want it to be moved up. So we're going to now hold down Shift and drag this up, and now it's been moved into that position as We pops up. If we wanted to move it up for the young to appear up there, we could do that as well. We can see here that right before the young starts, we would set another keyframe for our position, and then as young pops up, we would drag this up to the very top. And then again, we can select all these keyframes and ease them. So that's pretty cool. There we have a very simple animation. Let me move on to the look of what a Lyric video would consist of. What I like to do here is I'm going to hit Command Y, and we're going to make the background this purple color. So we have our purple background. We're going to turn off our motion blur for now just to make things run faster. What we can do is hit Command Y again, and we're going to make this a completely white layer. And we can actually take our text here, which you can't see because it's underneath, there we go, and hit Command Shift C, and we're going to pre-compose this text. We're going to call it text. And with that text pre-composed, we're going to make it into its own 3D layer. By clicking on this button right here, we've made it into a 3D layer, and now it can be rotated around in 3D space. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And we have our white layer here. We're also going to make this a 3D layer. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees so that it's laying flat, and then we're going to drag it down to right around here. And now we're going to extend it so that it takes up a large portion of the screen. And we've scaled it up so it's huge. Make a new light Maybe we'll make it a point light. We're going to make this a point light. And we leave all these settings the same, 100%. We've got casting shadows. We've got our shadow diffuse. So we've got our light here. And now we can see that it's affecting all of this. And now let's take our text layer. Let's bring it down right before it crosses with the ground. And right around there is solid. And now with our text, we're going to go to our material options and we're going to make it cast shadow. So now we can see that it's casting a shadow and accepting the lights. All this can stay the same. Now we go into our white and we're going to change this so that it does not accept lights and it's only accepting shadows. So we have that there. Now we can take our light and we're going to bring this up here. And if we go into our 2 view, here we have the number of views that we want to see. If we go to 2 view, we can see our main composition view here, which is our active camera. Even though we don't have a camera selected, it's still called the active camera view. And now we can see what it looks like from the top. So we can see we have our camera here, our light here, and we can move it around further or closer. We probably want it right around there. And we can change our height from this view. Make it a lot taller. Maybe a little further back so that we see more of what's going on. Now let's go back to our single view. We've got this nice shadow being casted, and what we're going to do here is actually diffuse the shadow. So we go here into our light options and we're going to click on shadow diffusion and we're going to diffuse it out just like that. Right around there is pretty solid. We could boost up the intensity if we wanted to, but right around there looks good, maybe 150%. Now we can take our white solid and we're going to change the blend mode to multiply. And now we have a nice shadow being casted onto our background. And next we're going to make a new adjustment layer. And we're going to hit Q several times, or we could just simply select it there and double click on it. And now we have the circle being made. We're going to hit Q again until we get a box. And we're going to draw a box over the bottom half of this. And we're going to subtract that. Now we're going to take the exposure effect, color correction, and apply it to our adjustment layer and bring up the exposure. Then we take our masks, we hit M twice, and we're going to diffuse them. And that's creating a diffusion where we can see that our exposure had once been added. If I were to take off the mask visibility, you could see that we have that added there. And if I were to feather this out, you can see that it's either a very contrasted line, or we can feather it so that it kind of blends into our background. We want it to blend in. We have our second mask here. I'm going to turn the visibility back on and bring this down a little bit. So there we have it. We have the text with a nice shadow and a nice vignette in the background. Now if we animate through this, we've got this text that's popping up from underneath. And as it pops up, it gives a nice shadow. And there we have the text popping up with a pretty cool background.